Hi everyone and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy, doing my new podcast format. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Oscars, the Academy Awards. Now, if anyone follows me on any kind of social media, I'm a huge critic of the Hollywood system, how Hollywood awards films, and in particular the Oscars, how they award films, what movies get the awards, and things like that. So yes, I'm going to do that a little bit today as I go through my 4 favorite categories, who should win out of the list, who probably will win, and also I'm going to go over a couple of movies I felt got snubbed. So get ready for a wild ride. Be sure to like this video, share it out. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, but also ring the little bell, because YouTube does this weird thing where they curate your subscription feed, so you don't get everything in chronological order. So ring that little bell. If you're on Facebook, be sure to like this video, share it out to all your friends, also follow this Facebook page, and also don't forget to turn on those notifications. Without further ado, welcome to Studio Jake. It is Oscar prediction time, and I think in the intro I said I'm going to do 4 categories. I'm actually going to do 5. I'm going to do Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Animated Feature Film, and finally we're going to end with Best Picture. So I apologize, I did not mean to mislead there if you thought this video was going to be shorter. So anyway, Best Animated Feature Film. So the nominees are How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, which is the final entry in that film series by DreamWorks. I Lost My Body, a French independent animated film. Klaus, made by Sergio Pablos, which is one of my favorite animated films of the year. Missing Link from Laika Studios, and of course Pixar's Toy Story 4. Now, I'll be honest, I have not seen I Lost My Body or Toy Story 4 yet. I was planning on seeing Toy Story 4 in theaters, just didn't get around to it. I Lost My Body is, I believe, streaming on Netflix. I just never really... I saw the trailer to it, I didn't think it was that interesting. So, out of the ones that are nominated, I'm guessing either... I'm guessing either Toy Story 4 is going to win, but I'm also putting in I Lost My Body as the dark horse. The reason Toy Story 4 is because the Academy does seem to like Pixar films. There have been a couple of Pixar films that have won in the past, but I do think I Lost My Body may be a dark horse in this because it is a French film, and for some reason American filmmakers, and even ones that I know living in Los Angeles, they like French films for some reason. I find them incredibly dreary, drowning in useless dialogue that makes no sense. I actually, uh, and I know that they were a heavy influence on the European New Wave, which I actually, and the French New Wave, obviously, but I think that that movement was actually bad for American films, not good for it. I always think that any movement that comes from the United States that is good for film, but anything that comes out of Europe. Now, Asia, Hong Kong films, whatever comes out of there is typically pretty good. I don't always like their films, obviously, but to me, Europe just has this penchant for nihilistic, dreary films. And now, I Lost My Body, I don't think is that, but I think it's going to be a dark horse just because it's French. Which one should win? In my opinion, this was tough because I've seen Klaus, Missing Link, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, and they're all 3 really amazing films. Especially the stop motion animation of Missing Link is really good. How to Train Your Dragon, just beautiful CGI work. It was incredible. Klaus was just something new, 2D animation that had a spectacular voice cast. For the English version, I haven't seen the Portuguese or Spanish versions, obviously, because I don't speak those languages, but still, Klaus is incredible. So I'm actually going to go with Klaus. I think Klaus should win, Best Animated Feature Film, I think out of this list, it is the best, and personally, from the ones I have seen, because I've seen other films that were animated, 2019 was kind of a bad year for animation. They had some really big stinkers come out for Best Animated Feature Film, but honestly, I think that Klaus should win. I think it was the most well made, it was the most creative, and to come back when 2D animation seems to be kind of a dying art with animation studios, I think that that film was so ambitious and it did something new with animation, similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think that that film should win. Like I said, I don't think it will be. I think that Toy Story 4 is going to win just because, like I said, it's kind of a thing for the Oscars to like Pixar films. Pixar films don't always win, but you never know. In this case, it's most likely that it will. Like I said, I Lost My Body is going to be a dark horse in that contest, so we'll just have to wait and see, but that's my prediction. We're moving on to Best Actress. Now, this one is a little tougher. I'll admit that I've only seen one of these films, but I know about the other films. Obviously, I say I say that it's going to be kind of interesting because, like I said, I've only seen one of these films. But we've got Cynthia Erivo, who played Harriet Tubman in Harriet, Scarlett Johansson, who was in Marriage Story as Nicole Barber, um, Saoirse Ronan, her portrayal as Jo March in Little Women. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ronan, and if I'm not. Charlize Theron in Bombshell as Megyn Kelly, and Renee Zellweger as Judy, or as Judy Garland in the film Judy. So my prediction is that Cynthia Erivo is going to win. And personally, now like I said, I haven't seen Harriet yet. I've only seen Bombshell out of this list. But because of that, I think that Cynthia Erivo is going to win. But I have heard Harriet is a fantastic movie. It's a phenomenal movie. So I'm going to say it is well deserved. Now, Mrs. Ronan is a dark horse in this one because Little Women was seen like as an important film, quote quote. It was a remake that where they try to modernize and put modern third wave feminism, which is absolutely preposterous. That wasn't what Little Women was about. But I do think just because of the nature of that film, it's a dark horse. I'm predicting Cynthia Erivo is going to win. Personally, I think Scarlett Johansson should win, but not for the movie she was nominated for. She was nominated for Marriage Story, but personally, I think she should win for her role in Jojo Rabbit. That movie was fantastic. I loved it, and so I would like to see her win this year, but for Jojo Rabbit. But if she wins for Marriage Story, um, I would be okay with that because she is a dynamite actress. I don't want to say it's about time she won an award because she is such a dynamite actress, and she may have before. You know what? Let me look that up real quick. I could be wrong about that, but she is definitely okay. She is not. She's been nominated before for 2 Academy Awards and 5 Golden Globe Awards, but she has not won. Um, but she has won a Tony Award and a BAFTA Award. No one cares about BAFTA Awards. But anyway. I would like to see her win this year, but like I said, for Jojo Rabbit. But like I said, I'm fine if she wins for A Marriage Story. It's fine, I guess. I've been a proponent of Netflix films and Hulu originals being included in the Academy. I thought it was very snooty of them to ignore them. And for a while, they were right. Especially Netflix films were very, very subpar, but I think as Netflix grew in popularity, more films that were excellent and good started to appear. So I'm willing to give her a shout out. But like I said, I honestly think in my heart of hearts that Cynthia Erivo is going to win for Harriet. I would be very surprised if Charlize Theron won for her portrayal of Megyn Kelly, not because Theron didn't do a bad job. She did a great job. She did a dynamite performance, but I just don't think they want to put a spotlight on Megyn Kelly. As for Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland. No one really saw this movie. It didn't get a whole lot of buzz. The first four did. So Harriet, Marriage Story, Little Women, Bombshell, they all got some serious buzz. And Judy really didn't. Um, it's a shame, I guess. I didn't see it. I had no interest to see it. I'm a huge Judy Garland fan, but a lot of times these Hollywood stories where they tell the story of a famous actor or actress, it's not really that impressive. It's kind of a letdown. So, there's been like 3 films about Lucy and Desi Arnaz, of course, or Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and they've all been kind of lackluster and unimpressive. You can say the same for Julie and Julia, which was really the movie was based on a book about an insane woman, but in the movie they toned down her insanity, just a little bit. So, but yeah, that's my prediction. Cynthia Erivo with Mrs. Ronan being a dark horse, but Scarlett Johansson should really win it. Best Actor. Now, again, this is a tough one because I've only seen one of the films on this list. So we have Antonio Banderas. He's nominated for his role as Salvador Malo in Pain and Glory. Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Adam Driver nominated for his role as Charlie Barber in Marriage Story. Joaquin Phoenix for Arthur Fleck in Joker. And Jonathan Pryce as Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio in The Two Popes. Of course, he plays the man who would eventually become Pope Francis. So this one, again, is really tough because Antonio Banderas is a phenomenal actor, and even movies I've seen him in, the movies themselves aren't that good. He is a really good actor. Um, but it's a Spanish film, it's an international film, so it's quite possible that I'm going to say he's a dark horse in this. I don't think he's going to win, but I'm going to say it's a dark horse in it. Pain and Glory. I honestly think Adam Driver is going to win, but it's not going to be for Marriage Story. They're going to give him the award because of Star Wars. As you know, I am a huge critic of the sequel trilogy. I thought The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker were mediocre, and I thought The Last Jedi was just a bad movie. But critics loved it. They lauded it, and people who didn't like it were attacked. We were called toxic fans and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I think Adam Driver is going to win for this. But I think Antonio Banderas is the dark horse. I think that he could come out of nowhere and win this. I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to win. There's been a lot of people saying that he is going to win. He already had his turn. He won for Revenant, I believe. So I don't think he's going to get it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, while it got too much controversy during the pressers, so I don't think it's going to win because Hollywood, they used to love controversy, but now they only like certain types of controversy. So I don't think he's going to get it. And also, Quentin Tarantino, he's not really that well liked as a person in Hollywood. Of course, he had accusations leveled against him by certain performers he worked with on various films that he was abusive and kind of a sexist. I can actually see that about him. I've only seen one of his films. I saw Pulp Fiction, which was supposed to be supposedly his best film, and I actually did not get what the appeal of it was. I didn't think it was that impressive of a film. I thought it was kind of poorly made. The performances in it were good, and I know that's a controversial opinion. I don't care. It's my podcast. I'll say whatever I want. But out of this list, who do I think should win? Joaquin Phoenix should win for Joker. That was just such a dynamite performance. Now, I'm looking at it from a Elseworlds, which is a DC Comics vernacular for a kind of a what-if story. So I'm not seeing it as the Joker from the comic book, so not like Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger or Mark Hamill. I'm seeing it as he's kind of a Joker of his own, and for that reason, I think he should win. I just think it was a dynamite performance. I don't know why Jonathan Pryce is on this list as an actor. I'm not really ever impressed with him. Now, I haven't seen The Two Popes, so he could be phenomenal in that, but I don't really see him as that good of an actor. I mean, I think he is fine, but to me, he just seems like he just always just plays an old man. So, you know, he's just like, he was in this Amanda Bynes film. The name of it escapes me, but she finds out her dad is like some, Amanda Bynes plays this teen who finds out that her dad is a very well-to-do politician in England, so she runs away to England to try to meet him, and he's a guy who's running to be a member of parliament, and Jonathan Pryce plays the guy's kind of handler, his chief of staff, I think. And I just was not impressed with his performance in that film or with his role in Pirates of the Caribbean. I just didn't think it was that impressive. I've seen him in a few other films, never thought he was particularly that good, and um, I don't mean to stir the pot a little bit, but I mean he's fine for what he does, but to me he's just a guy who just has one shtick and is not really diverse in the kind of roles he takes. Joaquin Phoenix, on the other hand, he can be funny, he can be serious, he can be sad, he can be nihilistic, and definitely Joker shows this. So I think he should win. Prediction: Adam Driver is going to win. Antonio Banderas is the dark horse. Now we have Best Director. So Martin Scorsese was nominated for The Irishman, Todd Phillips for Joker, Sam Mendes for 1917, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Now, my honest prediction is Martin Scorsese is going to win for The Irishman. Why, I don't know. I thought The Irishman was a terrible movie. I put it on my top 10 worst films of 2019. I got a lot of people mad at me for that, but here's the truth. It's long, it's boring, it's poorly edited. The CGI, while it was decent, it still had these kind of floundering old men. So you had men who looked like they were in their 30s walking around like they were in their 80s. So that's not impressive directing to me. It was also bleak, and it was very morally reprehensible. Like, they were trying to make you feel bad for this serial killer who worked for Jimmy Hoffa and the Mafia. He was one of like 3 Irishmen to get like a ring from a crime family or whatever. Yay, that's what a great guy. Ironically, me and Andrew Clavin actually agree on this. He and I have very different tastes in films, but he actually had worse things to say about the movie. But I do think he is going to win because of the controversy he started before The Irishman, where he was snooty and was like, "Oh, I don't see Marvel films. Oh, they're just popcorn and theme parks." You know, the rich elite, Hollywood elite, where he's like sipping champagne with his pinky up, like he was saying, as he was saying it, you know, and then he wrote that scree in the New York Times where he was like, "Please love me." So I just don't. I think they're going to honor him, quote, quote, even though he doesn't deserve it. He hasn't deserved it in years. Um, you know, he's a good director, but I was really happy because I was like, man, I'm going to have to watch The Irishman, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to have to give a good review, even after he was so rude to his fellow filmmakers. No, it was actually a terrible movie. Just honestly, it was a bad film. The dark horse in this is 1917 by Sam Mendes. The Academy tends to like war films, especially moving ones. Now, I haven't seen 1917, but I think because it was filmed in a way where it looks like it's one continuous shot, um, and it's kind of a moving story in the backdrop of World War One. I really think that it's going to win for that reason. Sam Mendes is a fantastic director, so I would not be surprised if he actually won. Like I said, I'm predicting Martin Scorsese, but Sam Mendes is the dark horse in this. Who actually deserves it? Todd Phillips for Joker. He clearly deserves it. He went from making kind of raunchy comedies to doing this serious character study on how Gotham affects the Joker, because normally films show how Joker affects Gotham. In this case, he kind of flipped the script on that, and I think he definitely deserves it. Um, his Joker as a movie, really well made, really put together, and a few people have said that it's basically Taxi Driver. I'm not really seeing those comparisons other than it being kind of a character study of a morally reprehensible person. A few people thought, oh, well, he was trying to create sympathy for the Joker. No, he was trying to create empathy for him. He wanted you to feel like you could become this monster if you weren't taken care of the way most people were. So that's my take on it. Um, Martin Scorsese's going to win for The Irishman. Sam Mendes, 1917 is the dark horse, but Todd Phillips for Joker. He actually deserves Best Director. Last, but definitely not least, we're to Best Picture. So I was actually surprised, because usually Best Picture, they nominate films that didn't have kind of a wide appeal. It's usually like these weird artsy films. In fact, I've always said they haven't really nominated a good film and won a good film since The Artist. The Shape of Water won. Green Book won. I've not seen Green Book, but I didn't. I've heard it wasn't really Best Picture material. They just voted on it because of the intersectionality in it. Makes sense. Actually, this Best Picture list, they only really have like one or two films that I would consider intersectional. So for the list of nominees, we've got Ford versus Ferrari, we've got The Irishman, we've got Jojo Rabbit, we've got Joker, we've got Little Women, we've got Marriage Story, we've got 1917, we've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and we've got Parasite. So I've actually seen a lot of the films on this list. I've seen The Irishman, I've seen Jojo Rabbit, I've seen Joker, I've seen Parasite. So that's 4 out of the 9. Normally I'll see the list and I'll have maybe seen 2 of them, because again, they tend to nominate movies people don't care about. But even the ones that I haven't seen, they still had some sort of wide appeal. I think with the exception of Little Women. Um, Anyway, we've got, this one was actually tough to narrow down, but I still think The Irishman is going to come out on top of this. I think that it's going to, um, I think that it's going to come out because, again, it's Martin Scorsese's turn, and he was so brave in calling out those god-awful comic book films that the plebeians and the peasants and those blue-collar viewers like. Oh my goodness! So I honestly think that he is going to pull out the victory here. As for the one that should win on this list, based on the ones I have seen, I think Joker is the best out of these. It was tough because I also want to say Jojo Rabbit. I'm just going to say they're tied. Joker and Jojo Rabbit. Um, one of them should win. Just fantastic movies. Now, I think the dark horse again is going to be 1917, directed by Sam Mendes. Again, the Academy likes war films. They like moving stories of soldiers, and it seems patriotic, and especially since this is about a World War I scenario, not a lot of those films get recognized. I don't think one has really since All Quiet on the Western Front. So I think that that one is the dark horse. I don't think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think that was just kind of a nod to Quentin Tarantino. Um, Not really. I don't think he's going to get it. Ford versus Ferrari, I haven't seen it. I actually want to see it, but I don't think it's going to get it just because it is such a celebration of capitalism. Um, Jojo Rabbit, I don't think it's going to win just because of the whole way it looks at Nazism, where it shows the absurdity of their beliefs and kind of makes them funny and worth laughing at, basically. Joker, I don't think it's going to win because, well, really because of SNL. SNL made a big deal about calling it white male rage movie and all this, and so Little Women, I think they want to win, but I don't think it's going to get close. I think fans of the book didn't really like the film. I've heard that it's not really actually that it has good acting, but it's not really that good of a movie. Marriage Story, it's a Netflix film. It doesn't stand a chance. 1917, like I said, is the dark horse. Parasite, it's a tricky one. It's been a long time since a foreign film has won Best Picture, but I just don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's going to win. I think that they're going to give it to an American film. Parasite is a phenomenal movie, by the way. I did think the ending was kind of stapled together, like they just didn't know how exactly to end it, so they just kind of went, okay, this is a good ending. So I don't think it's going to win for that reason. Like I said, Irishman, Dark Horse is 1917, and but Joker and Jojo Rabbit are probably the ones that are most deserving. Now, I did want to bring up two two movies that I thought were snubbed for Best Picture, and that is Richard Jewell and Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame should be on both Best Actor for Robert Downey Jr., and it should be Best Picture for Avengers Endgame. There's just no question about that. It should be on the list. I'm not saying it should win, but it should have been on the list. They could have taken out Little Women or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and placed that film in. It was time. It was really time to recognize it when with the first Iron Man, the first Avengers, Captain America Civil War, or I'm sorry, not Captain America Civil War, Captain America Winter Soldier, sorry about that, Captain America Winter Soldier should have been recognized, and of course Avengers Infinity War, and there's a bunch of movies in between, but especially Iron Man, Captain America Winter Soldier, the first Avengers, and Avengers Infinity War, all four of those films should have been recognized. There's just no debating that. And I think that it's very petty of the Academy to go through this route where they're just going to ignore him. Now, Richard Jewell is the Clint Eastwood film about the man who was harassed by the government and the media during the Olympics in Atlanta. It's got some really interesting twists and turns in it. And Kathy Bates was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but that's the only nod it got. It got nothing, and I really feel like it's because the Hollywood elites, they're like, hey, he's kind of making fun of our buddies in at CNN and other places. So I honestly feel like that is now Avengers Endgame did get a nod for best visual effects. It should have swept all the technical awards. Best costume design, best production design, best cinematography, best sound mixing, best sound editing. It should have gotten all of that. And also, like I said, best actor for Robert Downey Jr. and best picture for Avengers Endgame. That's my honest opinion. And like I said, Richard Jewell, um, it really should have swept the main awards. I think it should have gotten Best Picture. I think Clint Eastwood should have been nominated for Best Director, and certainly Kathy Bates deserves Best Supporting Actress. She did a phenomenal job in the role as Richard Jewell's mother. I think that, but I also think that Sam Rockwell should have gotten Best Supporting Actor. I think that Paul Walter Hauser should have been nominated for Best Actor. Just one thing after the other in this. I'm not sure what the Academy was thinking, but they are, like I said, I've been highly critical of them. Now, objectively, I think that Richard Jewell is the best picture of the year. I just think that's a fact. There's just no disputing that. I haven't seen a movie that really has beaten it. So, but like I said, that's why I've always been a critic of how they award movies and whatnot. So, sigh. So those are my Oscar predictions. You'll have to let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think win? And of course, we could wake up Monday and I was totally wrong, and I'll do a follow-up to this one where if I was wrong, I'll admit I was wrong. So we'll see where it goes from there. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and share it out on Facebook, and also follow my Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter at RealJacob You can find me on Instagram at RealJacob as well. Oh, by the way, my Facebook page is Author Jacob Airy. You can find me there. Also go to my blog where you can look up my movie reviews where I've reviewed several of these movies. It's jacobairy.blog. That's JACOBAIREY.blog. Be sure to head over there and subscribe to there so you can get my articles when they come up. Also, don't know what to get your boo for Valentine's? Get her or him a copy of my novel, The Seven Royals, All Good Things. I mean, they're a bookworm. They read every night before they go to bed and sometimes during the day just because. You don't know what to get them. Get them my novel. You can find it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It's on Rakuten for you Rakuten folks. It's through their Kobo digital e-reader downloads. Of course, it's on Apple Books for download. And also Amazon and Barnes & Noble, they have digital versions and paperback versions. So head over there and get those. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here on Studio Jake.